This is K.M. Weiland, and you are listening to the 32nd episode of the Wordplay Podcast. I got to spend most of this frigid week curled up in my rocking chair with a mound of books at my elbow, reading away about World War I, at a little candlelight, maybe a little chocolate, and I admit the whole thing feels far too luxurious to be counted as work. Of course, by the time the morning rolls around and I'm faced with my pile of notes to be transcribed, the luxury wears off a bit. I'm enjoying my forays into the bleak landscapes of World War I. If you can get your hands on the coffee table book, Faces of World War I by Max Arthur, I highly recommend it. You can now claim your copy of my free ebook, Crafting Unforgettable Characters, a hands-on introduction to bringing your characters to life. Featuring some of my most popular blog posts on character crafting, this PDF offers a good starting place for understanding the basics of character building, as well as some tips for troubleshooting. You'll also discover inspiring quotes from successful authors, writing prompts, and creativity exercises. Of course, the discussion of character is far too vast a subject to be covered in a 50-page ebook, but this information will give you the tools you need to tackle your latest batch of characters. You can receive your copy by signing up for my emailing list on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com. Look for the form in the top of the left-hand column. Meanwhile, enjoy this week's post, Why Word Count Goals Can Be Destructive. Word counts are the trusted aids of many a writer. With the ever-present call of duties, relationships, and even just sweet inertia, it's often comforting to have a set goal every day. Write 1,000 words, write 2 pages, write 1 scene, 1 chapter, and you're finished. You can abandon your writing for the day and move on to other things, safe in the realization that you fulfilled your obligation as a writer for one more day. However, for some writers, myself among them, word counts can prove more problematic than they're worth. For a very short time, when I started writing my medieval novel, Behold the Dawn, I decided word counts might be a helpful aid. My goal was to write 800 words every day, or approximately 1 page. It was a count that fit well within my already established productivity level, so I knew I could handle it without a problem. No doubt it would be satisfying to jot my word count total in my writing journal every day, and watch the total count compound over time. But that isn't what happened. Instead of watching my fingers flying over the keyboard, hammering word after hundreds of words into my manuscript, I ended up spending an inordinate amount of time watching my word count instead. Am I there yet? Have I reached 800 words? Am I even halfway there? Between the ticking clock and the blinking cursor, my word count ended up severely squashed. 800 words a day was no longer an easy accomplishment. It was an enemy to be conquered. It only took about a week to figure out that word counts were causing me more grief than productivity. I work much more effectively under a time limit, instead of a word count. Instead of forcing words that don't want to come, instead of blathering through 800 words just for the sake of reaching my goal, only to have to throw half of them away the next day, I prefer to force myself to sit down at the computer for a set amount of time every day, 2 hours in my case, and let the scenes and characters dictate the word count. Some days my word count barely scratches 400, but with the necessity of reaching a set goal no longer threatening me, I found that the words tend to flow, and most days I clock in far beyond my original goal of 800 words. If you find you're focusing more on your word count than your words themselves, you might want to consider releasing yourself from what could end up being a habit destructive to your productivity.
Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.